Baseball preview starts hour number 2 right here on the early line on Sports Grid. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined by Donnie right side. A lot of good stuff coming here. We're going to preview this baseball board, and then we're going to get you some ACC preview. We're running through the conferences this week here. Maybe we'll have a hangover. We'll finish up one next week or so, but nevertheless, let's make it happen here with the baseball slate, starting with Braves Pirates. Right now, you are talking about an Atlanta Braves team that all year long, it feels like, have beat up on the teams that they are supposed to. So this would tell me that today should be no different. Though I have to admit, Odorizzi at almost a minus 200 favorite on the road gives me a touch of hesitation there. What do you think about Pirates Braves today, Donnie?
Yeah, we're looking towards the over in this game, and not because I really like the lineups, Kevin, per se, but it's the pitchers I do think are vulnerable here. If we take that 30-day snapshot and take a look at Jake Odorizzi, how about an xFIP number approaching 6.5? Strikeout percentage only 15%, and a walk percentage, it is below 10%, but a lot of these guys are getting on base because the ball is in play. But if you look at the splits here for Odorizzi, a right-handed pitcher to lefties, having a 349 weighted on base percentage with an ISO of 224. Doesn't get any better. Right-hand side, Kevin, 384 weighted on base percentage with an ISO of 208. Now, granted, you take a look at this lineup for the Pittsburgh Pirates, there's not a lot to love. It's not exactly a true hitter's ballpark in Pittsburgh either. Only two guys in the lineup, a 392 weighted on base percentage and a 363 weighted on base percentage for Reynolds and Gamble in the middle of the lineup. Makes some sense. Everybody else is below par, but you're banking on a pitcher struggling where some of these hitters should be able to get the job done. If we flip it over and take a look at who's going to be on the mound here for the Pittsburgh Pirates, not a lot to go off of here, but through 27 batters over the last month for Contreras, how about his xFIP? Close to 7. Strikeout percentage, 11%. Base on balls percentage, Kevin, 15%. So even though we don't have a huge, number through only 27 batters, you like to see that 47, 67, or 87. This Atlanta Braves lineup matches very well against right-handed pitching. If we're looking at the lineup today, Riley, Olson, Contreras, Harris, Ozuna, and Grossman, all elevated ISO power numbers. You're going to get a full 9 at-bats regardless for the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if I want to lay that heavy price on Odorizzi, so I'm looking towards that over 8.5. I think we get 9 runs in this game tonight.
Both get to 4, and you're on your way. Odorizzi has been a guy where a part of him would say, it's not what the Braves have expected. He's been worse than he was earlier in the season for Houston, but this is not a guy that's going to be a part of a postseason rotation at all for Atlanta. Maybe comes in, chews up some innings overall out of the bullpen or something along those lines, but it provides you an opportunity then where the Braves are, instead of throwing a Max Fried or a Strider, say, all right, we've got a vulnerable pitcher on Atlanta's side, plus that lineup that is always enticing and makes for a nice spot there on an 8.5. Moving through this board, I jumped out of order there. Oh, no, I didn't. I did great. All right, perfect. Reds Phillies is up next. I almost ran down all the way down to Cardinals Cubs. Listen, folks, I go out of order here. Donnie won't even answer me. Yeah. He's just going to stick to the game that he has queued up next. So it's a good thing I pulled it back. Reds Phillies, Noah Syndergaard. I got to tell you, man. I know the Angels were bad, but Noah Syndergaard has gone from a guy that'll be booked at minus 110 at home against the Detroit Tigers to now minus 240 at home against the Cincinnati Reds and Louis Cessa getting the ball. The radio audience is here, by the way. Sports Grid Radio, Sirius XM, Channel 159, early line, breaking down some baseball games. Phillies, Reds, what are you seeing?
Yeah, you need a bounce back for the Phillies. This is what we've talked about for the Phillies teams in the past, Kevin. You say, you know what? You win a series or two against the Mets, which they didn't, then you go out and drop a series to a team like the Reds. You need to have that role reversal this year where you lost a series to the Mets, pick it up by your bootstraps. You're still at home at this point. You got to win this series against the Reds. And Noah Syndergaard has been very good, Kevin, from coming over to the Philadelphia Phillies. We didn't expect the Noah Syndergaard of the Mets when it was DeGrom, Syndergaard, and they were throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs back-to-back. This is a new pitcher here in Syndergaard, but he's using his mind as opposed to his arm. Not throwing the fastball as much as he used to in the past, but working his way through. And when you're looking to make the playoffs, what you need from your starting pitchers outside of your aces is a legitimate chance to win, Kevin. 5 innings, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 3 at the most. Keep your team in a game. And that's what you're getting out of Syndergaard right now. It's not a great lineup here for the Cincinnati Reds. It's not a great pitcher for the Reds today. It's not a great bullpen for the Reds, but it is all about the Philadelphia Phillies, who, even though you didn't face DeGrom and Scherzer over the weekend, you did face a pretty good bullpen. You're not going to face that against the Cincinnati Reds in a smaller ballpark. Looking for Schwarber to get back on track here. Bohm has been fantastic. JT Realmuto is waking up, and you're still waiting for Bryce Harper, who in his latest, post here with the media, I'm about 90% here as I'm about to go, whether it's AA or AAA, to try to get a couple at bats in before coming up to the major leagues. We're probably going to expect him to be right around September 1st coming back into the lineup. But this is a game you have to win. It's not necessarily, Kevin, a handicap based on Syndergaard so much better than Sessa. It's just that the Phillies are a better team than the Reds. They're at home. They should wake up and win this game.
A week ago to the date, the Reds hosted the Phillies. It was Sessa to start the game off up against the Philadelphia Phillies and Noah Syndergaard. No runs first inning did come in. Now, there was some trouble on the base paths, I can't lie to you, but it's plus 100. Try a little get in, get out special if you'd like as well. But the Phils obviously in a good spot today, looking to bounce back after the Mets did give them some trouble. This is a really good baseball board to break down, but what we're going to make sure that we get you is a tough spot for the New York Yankees. A struggling Yankees team that is priced as a home underdog. A home dog. The implications of that and the rest of the baseball board all coming up right here on the early line. We'll be right back.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio. Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Maurice Allen, 2015-2016 European Long Drive Tour champion, 2017 world number 1. Me personally, I keep my game face on me all the time. Especially coming out of the bunker, leaving the range, or even leaving the course. What's your story?
The early line.
Let me help you, NCAA. We will wipe the bowl season out completely. We will put in a 30-team playoff at a minimum. We will wipe out the cupcake schedules, and everybody will eat at the end of the year. More money in your pockets, college football guys. More fun in my pocket here, and a chance for gambling on my end of it. It's a win-win scenario.
On Sports Grid. The morning after.
I look at Deshaun Watson, now at this point, I'm just kind of looking forward to seeing, how does he come back? How does he look when he gets back on the field? And, especially more than anything, because we've talked about, hypotheticals time and time and time again of what's the suspension going to be. To actually have an answer, it's almost a little bit of a sense of relief, at least when it comes to the Cleveland side of it.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
Chris Olave can give you a lot. Chris Olave is a very polished wide receiver, great route runner, great speed, great hands. He is NFL ready. This guy is just ready, hit the ground running. I think Drake London will go and get a little bit more buzz because of where he was selected. And people say, oh, he's the only guy there. Yeah, he's the only guy there. But it's the island of misfit toys in Atlanta. So you have to understand that. Whereas you have Winston, you have Michael Thomas, you have a more complete offense.
The Sports Grid Network.
Mets Yankees. There's a lot here in this game today. The first and most important takeaway, though, is the price. Because Max Scherzer is a favorite in the Bronx at minus 166. Now, he's going up against Domingo Germán, right? He's not going up against Nestor Cortez or Garrett Cole. But still, how many scenarios, how many teams exist that could go into the Bronx as a road favorite? The Mets, the Astros, the Dodgers. But it's the fact that the Mets are not only going to be favored in this game, but unless the weather interrupts, Jacob deGrom is going tomorrow. They're going to be favored in both games in the Bronx. If anybody needed a couple of extra indicators as to why I've picked the Mets to win the World Series, though I did pick the Mets to beat the Yankees in the World Series. So for me, the Subway Series is a World Series preview. Total here, 7.5. It's Germán against Scherzer. Where's the value?
World Series prediction here. Hey, maybe it come true for a kid that has grown up his entire life in the heart of the Big Apple. You got to be getting excited for this Subway Series. But having said that, looking at this game overall, the Mets are hot. But I thought you bring up a really good point here, because when you're dealing with aces on the mound, if you're looking at this game today and saying to yourself, there's rain in the forecast, you know what benefits? The Yankees. I think they're saying, well, hey, you know what, Kevin? I'm going to keep Domingo Germán on the bench here. We don't want to blow this start here. Where while you're saying a Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom start, boy, we'd really like it if it was sunny. We know he's going to go the full length, because the last thing we want is any shenanigans from the Yankees here to say, hey, we'll start the game in the first inning. Oh, no, raining a little bit too hard. Let's shut it down to the third inning. Hey, look. Raining again, let's shut it back down, which, again, you're not going to bring your star pitcher out there 2 or 3 different times after extended delay. So maybe a little bit of a bump to the Yankees. But let's play this off, Kevin, as the weather's not going to be an issue. The Mets are going to be an issue for the New York Yankees. That's no question about it. Scherzer's lining up against this Yankees team that's really still in a funk. Even though you pick up a nice win yesterday, Max Scherzer's on the mound. He should be able to handle his business. But the thing I love about the Mets, isn't this, Kevin, the lineup that we expected to get from the New York Mets from day one in April? Where it's like, man, they, you know, they're getting their pitching, they're injured. Maybe when they get it back, the hitting will come back as well. It seems like they have. Because if you're looking at the Mets over the past 30 days against right-handed pitching, it's all aces. Outside of Nimmo, who's your leadoff guy, take a look at this. Marte, weighted on base percentage, 346. Lindor, 465. Alonso, 348. Vogelbach, a 420. McNeil, 373. Canha, 399, who was tremendous yesterday against the Phillies. And Batty, a 582. This team, like, if you line up side by side, the bullpen, I'll take the Mets bullpen. Starting pitcher tonight, certainly going to take the Mets. The lineup, it's the Mets in a runaway. So even though you do see that minus 160 to minus 70 here at the FanDuel Sportsbook as a favorite for the Mets, they should be. The only detractor, as I said, is if that rain falls early and often and you lose your starter in the second or third inning when you thought he was probably going at least, Kevin, 6 to 7 dominant innings.
Yeah, that's obviously would be a really tough blow. It changes the price, the outlook, and everything there. The Yankees, by the way, had a late 2-run homer for Benintendi, his first in pinstripes, to avoid a sweep at home to the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, there's really no other way to sugarcoat it. This team has just been off. They've been a bad baseball team now for over a month, realistically. Is this how you turn it around? And Scherzer and deGrom? And by the way, I mean, we've seen what this lineup has been offering up here, DRS. Team total. I know we joke about Yanks team total over 1. You're not going to have to wait very long. It's a 3 in the Bronx pregame, man. Donnie, I do not remember any Yankees team totals at 3 pregame. At home? That is a low, low number, but it's understandable who's betting over.
Yeah. Is this one of those things or two where you look at that 3 and you say, you know what? You're right. This is a ridiculous number. I don't care. I'm just going to bet it, sit back and watch it play out. And then DRS, K-Dub, we've seen this so many times on In-Play Sports in the past going, no. Wait through the end of the first inning where, like, Scherzer's hot, throwing like 95-mile gas on the outside corner of the plate. Ooh, look at that 2.5 with juice. Wait till the third inning where he said, hey, look, the bottom of the lineup here, we know the Yankees aren't that good. By the time that lineup goes around one time, Kevin, you're going to be at 2 or less at that point. I wouldn't even bet the 3, which is such a low number. I'm waiting until Scherzer goes through that lineup, doesn't allow a run, and be like, you know what? Now's my time at a 2. For hopefully you'd have a lower scoring game that you might even get extra innings to try to get it. But that is an incredibly low number for the Yankees at home for sure. Over
their last 12 games, they've scored 4 more runs twice.
Man, bad.
I mean, what else are you even supposed to say, man? The whole thing is just pretty bad. Let's keep this thing moving here. We've got Sonny Gray has the ball for the Minnesota Twins. Totals at 8.5. Big time favorite here against the Texas Rangers. Raggins feels like a guy you've circled up before. Is that what we're seeing here in Minnesota, Texas?
Yeah, let's line it up here because you look at that, and I like what you said there. Like, it's a high price on Sonny Gray. So typically, if a team is going to win, their offense is probably going to show up. I don't think we're looking at a Sonny Gray 1-0 win today over the Texas Rangers. So if we line it up, it's not a great lineup here for the Twins of how they match up against lefties, particularly over the past month. But they've got some guys doing some damage here. Buxton, a 428 weighted on base percentage, Correa 393, Arise 354, and Miranda 344 to start that lineup 1 through 4. But the question is going to be Raggins on the mound with an xFIP of over 7, Kevin, over the past 30 days. And anytime you see that high xFIP number, you can let them know that he probably doesn't strike too many batters out, and he doesn't. About 10% of the batters that he's faced, he's struck out. Now, there are some lefties in the lineup. Looks like only 2, so we're really going to focus on the 7 right-handed batters lining up against Raggins, and it doesn't fare too well for him. 59 batters he's faced, Kevin, over the past month from the right side, 368 weighted on base percentage, 255 here as an ISO power number. You might only get 8 at-bats tonight, but a team total for the Twins is the way I would bet this game.
Interesting spot to line up here tonight. I want to make sure I move with a little bit of pace because I know that there's a couple of others we want to get to. Out of curiosity, Cards, Cubs, Mariners, Athletics, Brewers, Dodgers. Did any of those take precedent over another one?
The precedent, the St. Louis Cardinals versus Chicago Cubs is quite interesting here, but the one that doesn't take precedence, which is basically, hey, the card is light today. I mean, Miami and Oakland. What are you doing in this game? First of all, how many people between the two cities, Miami and Oakland, are watching that game? And number 2, are there going to be any runs in this ball game? Because you're talking about a team in Miami coming from a pitcher's ballpark to a pitcher's ballpark the same way. I don't like. I just put it there because I thought the novelty of the game meant more than the handicap. And I know,
but you mean to tell me that our boy, right, friend of the show, Aurier, is out there and the opponent has a team total of 3.5, full 9 innings?
Yeah. Let me tell you,
what's the deal?
About this. I mean, you might be looking at a guy whose trade value might never be higher after tonight's game for Aller. Could he be turning the corner? Because with the times that you say, like in high school or, middle school, where you line up and play, football or basketball against one of those teams, like, hey, I can get mine tonight. This is one where the Oakland Athletics stand up and be like, you know what? I can't wait to pitch against this Miami Marlins lineup in this ballpark. So maybe he gets below that 5.8 xFIP number. Maybe he lowers his weighted on base percentage splits between lefties and righties tonight. Yeah. Because if you're going to do any damage against any, batting team 1 through 9 in Major League Baseball, it's tonight. Maybe Aller goes to Aurier tonight and dominates.
Let me just say, though, I've seen stuff like this before, right? He goes against the Astros. He's solid. You go, all right, it's not happening again. The Rangers have enough pop. He's solid. Marlins clear the team total.
Yes.
But within the first 3 innings. Everybody knows how this works.
Two-thirds of an inning, he's knocked out. Like, this is what we expected because the Marlins got 7 runs in the top of the first.
Yeah. 100%. Here's something quickly just to keep your eye on. The greatest pitcher in the history of baseball, Jordan Montgomery, is on the mound. At least that's what he turned to when he left the New York Yankees. And I'm not saying that he was bad with the Yanks, Donnie, but he has been otherworldly his last 2 performances there. I don't know if it extends a full 30 days. I don't think that far his St. Louis starts. It's only been 3 of them, and his first was on the 6th. But I'm very interested to see what this looks like here. Against the Chicago Cubs, he should have an opportunity to shine.
He should have an opportunity to shine, and so should that lineup here for the Cardinals that has absolutely decimated lefties on the mound. They might do it again tonight to Smiley.
How about that? Minus 174 on the road for St. Louis. All right, up next, college football, an ACC preview next.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. $1 billion a year for a $7 billion deal, and we know that UCLA and USC are on board next year, right? This is what it's all about for the Big Ten, cornering the market in terms of the national viewership perspective. Doesn't get better than this. From 2023 and beyond, which team and which conference can capture the biggest market?
The Sports Grid Network. The morning after.
How would you try to fix what is happening with the Yankees currently?
I personally don't think it's time to smash the panic button yet. Something Aaron Judge said the other day, better to go on a run like this now in mid-August when you have a bit of a cushion in the division than when you're right about to go into October or when you are in October. They have the experienced veterans who have been there before. They have the youthful talent, but you got to get hot at the right time. You got to lean on depth in the pitching staff.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
This guy looks just as good as Aaron Jones, and if Green Bay decided to dial it back a little bit on the passing, then A.J. Dillon could certainly be a star running the ball. This is Aaron Rodgers' team still at this point. He decided to come back. Did he decide to come back to hand the ball off, 40 times a game?
I love A.J. Dillon. I think this guy on a normal team kills it, absolutely kills it here. But Dillon's going to have a lot of touchdowns this year. It wouldn't surprise me if he approached double digits.
The Sports Grid Network.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all three major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at SICScore.com.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top four seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play less.
Aaron Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like
Orlando
Fantasy
Magic.
Sports
the
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
That's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game time
kind
decisions.
of bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live, all access.
I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy could win the game, take a 4.5.
In-game live, prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live, overtime.
All done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid.
Welcome back in to Sports Grid. This is the early lineup. Kevin Walsh joined by Donnie Rightside, and we're going to talk about the ACC. A big year for this conference because every conference, I think, at the Power Five has a big season coming. Whether it is your title aspirations, whether it is the fact that everything is changing around you, it just feels like a major year for college football. And also, there are 4 college football playoff spots up for grabs, and it really does feel like all 5 of the Power 5 conferences have a chance to get a seat at the table. The ACC's best chance usually is viewed as Clemson. The odds tell us that is the case once again. A minus 155 favorite to win this conference, but with maybe a few more contenders than you would anticipate. Some of that could be related to the down year for Clemson. Last season, the offensive struggles were there, and they were there in a major way. The second choice on the board is Miami. The U enters this year with a legitimate Heisman contender and at worst what looks like a future first-round pick in Tyler Van Dimes. Plus, it's year 1 of Mario Cristobal. There's buzz down there in Florida. NC State is plus 750. Devin Leary back for the offense and nearly the entire defense back. People are enjoying the Wolfpack, and Pitt at 10-1 rounds out that top tier, if you will. Last year, Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison lit this league on fire. Both are gone. One's on the Steelers, and one is on the USC Trojans. What will this look like for Pitt? We're going to get into this conference, but we want to talk about those 4 teams and their win totals specifically, as those guys are going to dictate so much around them. And let's begin with the Clemson Tigers. A win total that checks in this year at 10.5. Brett Venables gone over to OU. DRS, when you line it up for Clemson this year, what direction are you leaning?
You would have to think every year, it seems like, and it's been that way for a while now that Dabo's been at Clemson and Miami's been down and Florida State's been down, that they're the team to beat in the ACC. And one of those conferences that is really top heavy, which means that you look at the schedule itself and you go down and you say, boy, where do they really get tripped up? The tough games you would think be at Notre Dame, NC State and Miami. You say, well, wait a second. We expect Miami to take the next step up. NC State's never been a real player on the national scene. And you say, all right, they should be able to handle Notre Dame. We'll see where Notre Dame gets to, or if it comes down to as a de facto 1-game season versus Notre Dame to get you in the playoffs or not. And quite frankly, Kevin, you could probably lose to Notre Dame, win the ACC, and still get into the national playoff picture. But for myself, we actually talked about this in the offseason where, sometimes you watch a season and you remember, like, man, the Clemson offense just isn't the same from what we saw for Trevor Lawrence. We expected this thing to just be a handing of the torch to just hum down the field for 40-plus points a game. And I remember the comment when I was like, DJU, and I was like, didn't he have like a really low touchdown number in the season, like astronomically low? And I said, I think it was below 10. And you said, well, hold on, 10? Like, the guy wasn't injured the whole year. He should have 10 in like the first 2 games of the season against inferior competition. How he finished with 9 touchdown passes last year is absolutely incredibly, insanely low. So really, Kevin, there's only one way to go up here for the Clemson Tigers. But if I'm looking at that 10.5 in a 12-game schedule, there's not a lot of leeway. But again, when we're talking about ACC teams, and you're going to see that throughout the show today, looks like everybody should beat everybody because everybody's bad outside of a handful of teams. I'm not that high on the Clemson Tigers this year, Kevin, because I just need to see more of DJU. Am I going to get the DJU that came out of high school that was behind Trevor Lawrence, that when Trevor Lawrence went down, he looked like he was going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL if he was eligible to come out after that season? Or am I getting the one last year, Kevin, that didn't even throw double-digit touchdowns when multiple guys were throwing 30-plus in the ACC?
I'm a lot higher on Clemson than you for a couple of reasons. One, I think DJU should be a lot better. The reports are that he has slimmed down a ton. Why he ultimately kind of ballooned up going into last year, I'm not so sure. But we know that apart Donnie getting right, we know across all sports, best shape of my life. Check that box for DJU. The other thing is, Dabo is not scared to make a move. Trevor Lawrence, the year they won the national championship, was not the game number 1 starter, but he made a move because he knew it was best for this football team. Behind DJU is Cade Klubnik. One of those, 9.9.47 5-star recruits, who's a track runner, by the way. So all of a sudden, we're adding different dynamics to this football team and can really make this offense pop. And I'm telling you this, if DJU looks like he did last year, he's going to pull him. And that's why I'm not worried about the quarterback position, because they're going to get good quarterback play, whether it is from DJU or not. Like, you're not going to hear me say, Donnie, bounce back here, DJU, let's run to the window to get the Heisman Trophy. That's not where I'm at. It's going to be because somebody's going to figure this out. And the other part of it is they only need to do so much on the offensive side of the ball. This is where college football can be different. Because last year, Stetson Bennett went out there and was the quarterback for the national champion. There are a lot of people right now who will not only be unaware that Bennett was the quarterback for that team because he was so far away from not being the story, that Bennett is back. And by the way, kind of competing for the job, and it wouldn't surprise me if he lost it in the middle of this season. This Clemson defense, I know some people will think this is crazy, might be just as good as last year's historic Georgia defense. Maybe a little weaker in the secondary, but the entire defensive line and the guys behind the starters, all NFL prospects. A ridiculous group. The only thing you could try and offer up is, well, how do these guys look without Brett Venables? 2 answers to that. Does anybody out there think that OU's defense this year is going to be as good as Clemson? Of course not. Brett Venables is very, very good. But working with this level of talent makes things a lot easier. Secondly, Wes Goodwin has been there with Brett Venables for a long time and steps in as the defensive coordinator, knows this scheme, knows these players, and has been around and side by side with Venables for years to pick up the tricks of the trade. And I do not think that Dabo Swinney would have just been able to upgrade within if he did not trust that Goodwin was capable of that. Donnie, we go through the schedule. I don't have to run through it. How many games are you even considering? At Wake's no longer a contest. We don't expect Sam Hartman to play. Sure, at Notre Dame, no doubt about it. But the fact that they host both Miami and NC State plus Price here, they have to lose 2 regular season games? I don't see it.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up, too, because, again, the whole theme of the ACC conference, when you look down, I say to myself, but Clemson I don't think is all that good. Well, they're preseason ranked number 4. They're not preseason ranked 24, right? And also from the ACC, which above those top teams there, which if you want to call them tops, NC State, Wake Forest, because Wake Forest is still ranked in the top 25, and I wanted to bring this point up, too. When you take a look at Wake Forest, completely different landscape now. And also, this might play into who wins the ACC because of what Wake Forest does. You say, Donnie, why does it make sense? Your Clemson is going to play in the first month of the season, Wake Forest. We don't know if Sam Hartman's coming back, but we're led to believe now that Hartman is probably going to return in the 2022 season. So if you play Wake Forest week 9, 10, or 11, that could be different. He's back because that's a legitimate football team. But you play without Hartman, which Clemson is going to get that break. Maybe the lineup just schedules out there well where they go 11-1. You still say at the end of the year, like, they're not a great football team. They had a couple scheduling things go their way, and they just played really good defense and hung on to these football games. That could happen. I'm just not as high because I'm used to the Clemson's teams that obliterate the ACC and are national championship contenders. I just don't see them as a national championship contender, even though, Kevin, they very well might make the playoff.
Interesting. They're 8-1 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win that national championship there, which is the 4th best odds. And it really, again, is kind of tiered off. Bama, Ohio State, and Georgia are your tier 1. Clemson is on an island at 8-1, and then it's USC at 20-1 there. So to your point, being down on Clemson can be relative there. I just struggled to see a world where this team's going to lose 2 games. I think they should have, truthfully, better odds to make the college football playoff than Georgia. Even if head-to-head Georgia is favored in the game, I think the pathway there for Clemson is better. Yeah. Let's then talk about NC State, the other team that is supposed to push this team. If someone is going to beat Clemson, right, in their division, people believe it's going to be NC State. The Wolfpack right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook have a win total of 8.5. Big minus juice, though, towards the over, plus 140 if you're willing to go underneath. NC State returns a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football here, Donnie. What do you think about the NC State number coming into the season?
One of those teams that I talked about, Kevin, that you don't really fear in the upper echelon of college football, but they got a kid at quarterback in Devin Leary that can spin it, Kevin, with the best of them. Last year, 35 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which is so crazy. Like, he spun it for 35. DJ Uiagalelei throws it for 9 touchdowns, and yet Clemson's a much better team, but that's the way it goes. But you're right. When you take a look at guys returning, the thing that you're least worried about for NC State is, all right, I got my quarterback. Is that half the reason, Kevin, in college football? Like, oh, we have a really good football team, but this kid hasn't played before. This kid played at an extremely high level. And also, the key moniker, the break versus Wake in 2022. We just talked about Clemson, Kevin, playing them in the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season. Let's take a look at NC State. They actually get them November 5th. So Sam Hartman comes back for that game. Now, it is a home game for them, which is certainly going to help them out, and they should be favored and probably win it. But you're not getting that benefit of a scheduling break where you're probably not going to face Sam Hartman in that game. But if you're looking overall for them, again, you said the defense, 9 of 11 starters coming back in this game. But if we're looking at an 8.5, the tough games at Clemson, probably going to be a loss. And then also the rest of the schedule, very comparable here. 8.5, and the reason why it's 8.5, juiced at a minus 165 price, this team is going to do some damage. I think this team certainly can get to that 9-win marker here.
This is a team that enters the year AP poll 13th. Our man Ben Stevens had him in Ben's top 10 early year outlook as well. The expectations are high. Does this get to a 9, and does that change the outlook, though, a little bit? I'll give you some quick thoughts on NC State. Then we're going to get over to Donnie's boys. The Crystal Ball, year 1, TVD. A lot to keep going. It's the ACC preview on the early line.
The morning after.
The most important thing about preseason is making sure you get the key numbers of 1 and 2. Very, very important in preseason football. If a team's down 17-10, 50 seconds left in the game, they get a touchdown, you can guarantee the final score is going to be 17-16 or 18-7. They're going for 2. They're just trying to win the game, and it doesn't count anyway. So therefore, the 2 and the 1 becomes real important.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
This was a surprise to me. I was anticipating a much harsher ruling on Deshaun Watson. It's hard to view this as not a win for the Deshaun Watson side of things, Donnie.
They lost big time on this overall result, Kevin. There is going to be moments where other players in the NFL mess up. The precedent is set here that the NFL, not too serious about stuff like this.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell, coast to coast.
How impressive do you think the Phillies are with Thor in that rotation with Wheeler, Nola, and it goes on and on?
I just think Atlanta has a shot not only to beat Philly, but clearly has a chance to beat the Mets. They imposed their will in the first 2 games in the series. The Mets look like they're going to be able to just, ride this down to the end and salt away the division. But it'll be a very interesting dynamic when those 2 teams play against each other.
The Sports Grid Network.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow into the $1.3 trillion business of sports with your daily numbers game. Well, Bob Chapek and Disney certainly know how to inspire. And remember, their fourth quarter earnings of last year said, we're flat, so let's get to a point where gaming is a central focus of ours. A little controversy at Disney relative to Florida. But the bottom line is it doesn't impact the gaming industry as well. And it's rumored to be a bottom line mega deal with DraftKings or Caesars or others to generate significant dollars. They were also looking at the hub of a wheel to be up to $3 billion in revenue enhancement over time. That may not be the way they cut the deal. They may partner with a large company and take little risk, maybe a little less revenue. However they do it, Chapek said the announcement is coming soon, and Disney, as they usually do, will dominate the space. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Daily Numbers Game.
Back right here on the grid, NC State. Look, here is kind of where I'm at with the Wolfpack, all right? If this total went to a 9, I think we could start to talk under. And I bring that up because the juice suggests that maybe this could very well get to a 9. 8.5, it's the plus price for a reason. 4 losses could be hard to come by. They remind me a little bit, though, of the Toronto Blue Jays. The analysis I kept offering up to people during the lead up to this baseball season was every single thing about the Blue Jays was positive, right? Man, oh man, they went out there and they added Gausman. Yeah, but they lost the AL Cy Young favorite. Oh, they added Matt Chapman. Yeah, do you think he's going to replace Marcus Semien, who finished top 3 in AL MVP voting? Oh, Vladdy Jr. can only get better. No, he can't. He batted .340 last year. Respectfully, that's the best batting average that Vladdy Jr. is going to have in his career. Those are the kind of vibes sometimes I get from an NC State. Look at all this defensive talent that returns. What about all the offensive talent that's gone? Top wide receiver, gone. Top 2 running backs, gone. Oh, and Ike Ekwonu, the type of franchise left tackle that the Carolina Panthers hope they have. You don't think that helped boosted Devin Leary up a little bit there to having thrown 30 more touchdowns and interceptions last season? I understand the defensive talent is back. But am I supposed to believe that they're on the Clemson level of the defensive side of the ball? Somebody ask Tyler Van Dimes if they're on Clemson's level. TVD was getting his feet wet in the ACC. Rocked up 325 yards and 4 passing touchdowns against this team. Sam Hartman of Wake Forest said, here's 40-plus for you. Look, they're good, and they return a lot, and they dealt with some injuries. But the better offenses seem to be able to do what they wanted against an NC State. The schedule is good enough. I think it's got to get up to a 9. I mean, look at the first 4 games, right? This team's going to be rocking with momentum. Yeah. East Carolina, Charleston Southern, Texas Tech, and UConn. Playing UConn the week before Clemson is essentially a bye. I don't even think I'd play Devin Leary unless he wants to, all in all. But I'm lower on NC State relative than to some of the buzz I think we're hearing about this group. Some, again, think there's a chance they beat Clemson. I don't see it, though I know that we're going to have big expectations because if NC State is not 4-0 going into that football game, then they might have already fired and cut everybody off of that team. Let's get to Miami. This is exciting. First of all, everybody knows it's kind of the NBA is better when the Lakers are good. The baseball is better when the Yankees are good, right? College football is better when Miami is good. And they've got themselves a superstar quarterback and a superstar head coach. Tyler Van Dimes is back. Look, Tyler Van Dyke, but it's Tyler Van Dimes, TVD. Get with the program. And Mario Cristobal is here for year 1. Win total is 9. Take it away. What are you seeing, Donnie?
I'm seeing good things for the Miami Hurricanes. Are we a year too early? I don't want to say we are, because when you have a quarterback that is projected to be a first-round draft pick for college football, you better be doing some damage. And when you play in a state like Florida and a city like Miami, regardless of how the recruiting has gone, you're always still going to pick up fantastic recruits at the skill positions, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. So there aren't any excuses here. If you want to take a look at the tougher schedule, probably going to take a loss at A&M, probably going to take a loss at Clemson. That's just the way things go. So if you look at that team total for Miami at 9 at -105, it still makes sense that it feels like they can get to the 9. The question is if they can get that 10th overall win. But if we're looking at the maturation process, which I love that word, of a young quarterback, there wasn't a whole heck of a lot expected from Van Dyke last year. And this guy came on the season and just lit it on fire as a young quarterback on a team that didn't have a lot of expectations once he came into the football game. You lose De'Ara King, season's lost. This was a godsend to find this kid. And now you come into the season with a lot of momentum, a lot better coaching staff than what you had in the past. So you would say that the sky is the limit. But having said that, there's still a lot of places they have to patch up. We'll see if you can get some key running back plays here. The wide receiver position is a little bit, I don't want to say down. Maybe the right word is, experience level of the wide receiving core. But anytime you have Van Dyke at quarterback, that's going to lift up the remainder of the team. Now, I have to get to this. Now, is this the reason between Miami having a 9-team total and a 9.5 or a 10? The reason I'm bringing this up is the one thing that's very upsetting, and we can go off the scale a little bit. The turnover chain is retired this year. I went back and I watched, I'm going to tell you right now, Notre Dame versus Miami just a few short years ago. When the turnover chain came out, it was almost like when you had an interception or a turnover. The entire stadium, the TV broadcast, prime time on a Saturday night, could not wait to see this. And nobody outside, that's ridiculous. Miami has always stunted since the early 1980s, as if they weren't gaudy to begin with. The turnover chain was so Miami it hurt that even if you were the biggest hater of the Miami Hurricanes, you had to sit back and you know what? That's him. That's exactly Miami to a T. And then Mario Cristobal comes to town, Kevin. Not as if he played at Stanford or played on the West Coast at USC or Oregon, where he was a head coach. He played for the Miami Hurricanes. He won championships with the most swaggered teams of all time. And for him to come back and say, we're taking this away because this isn't Miami, I got a feeling, though, Kevin. Miami starts running this table here. They line up against Clemson, a big interception. I think that thing's coming out to play. I really do.
So we're going to get to Pitt in a minute, but if you look right now, the two teams that are supposed to kind of run it up here in this division, in the Coastal, it's Miami and Pitt. I told you this from the beginning. He's going to find a way to bring that out for a big game. Maybe he says, here's your reward. Go out against Pitt, go win the Coastal, and go get us a spot in the ACC title game. Though they could already maybe have that wrapped up by the time it comes around. Here's the thing with Tyler Van Dyke, man. All right, first 2 games kind of as a starter, trying to figure it out. It wasn't pretty, I'll be honest with you, against Virginia or North Carolina. And then every game from there was just otherworldly. 316 yards as a floor in the 6 games, 3 passing touchdowns as a floor in the 6 games, and a 5-1 record. And that included, again, a win against this NC State team that everybody loves. I know it's a different group, but you get the point. And at Pitt, by the way, up against Kenny Pickett. Tyler Van Dyke has what you absolutely need in terms of being a superstar quarterback. Now, the wide receiver room did take a hit. There's no other way to sugarcoat it, right? Rambo went out there and set single-season records, and the guy, aside from him, is the all-time leading receiver in Miami history, I believe, or the all-time leader in receptions there in Mike Harley. However, they've got Van Dyke, and Cristobal should be able to elevate this offensive line. That right there in of itself gives you enough hope on that side. And defensively, it was a lot of freshmen to close out the season. Now you have the opportunity to be another year older on that side of the football. And I'll say this now as kind of we bring Pitt into the fold here. I don't like this Pitt team at all. It's a 7.5 with a lot of juice right now in the FanDuel Sportsbook towards the under. Flip to the 8. Maybe they're 8.5. And let's talk a little turkey here with Pitt. Kenny Pickett, gone. Jordan Addison, gone. Mark Whipple, the offensive genius behind the whole thing, he's in Nebraska. By the way, Nebraska, a lot of people think can go out there and win the Big Ten West. And a lot of that has to do with a Mark Whipple, all right? This Pitt team and Pat Narduzzi is going to go out there and try and win every single game 17-10. But what happens when you try and do that is something goes wrong, somebody misses a field goal, and you leave yourself vulnerable the entire season to upsets. I do not like this Pitt football team, Donnie. The problem, though, for me, and where I think kind of the balance is right now with Pitt versus Miami for the Coastal, is I do think Pitt found themselves the easier schedule, and perhaps the big difference is one of them goes to Clemson, the other one doesn't play him at all.
And I'm going to tell you, like, you're looking at Pitt, which is kind of interesting. You see where they're ranked, Kevin, 17th nationally here. And you say, well, what gives here? They played 12 games. It's a 7.5 as a team total. Well, it is heavily juiced, but still, that sticks out like a sore thumb. Now, let's just see the Pittsburgh's offseason, as you noted there. Coaching staff's lead. Anytime you're going to have an offensive coordinator leave, along with Kenny Pickett, a first-round draft pick, you're going to take a back seat. But it feels like they did a good job of saying, all right, Slovis is going to be the quarterback now. That's a nice little jumping-off point from getting away for Kenny Pickett. And, oh, yeah, there's a wide receiver out here. Watch this, guys. He had 100 catches last year, close to 1,600 yards. He's going to dominate. And we also have a line, Kevin, that's all returning back. It's only one big thing. That guy that Kenny Pickett threw the football to in Addison, he went to USC. Like, that could be one of the worst hits that a college football team has taken, like midway through your all-season program that I've ever seen. You're talking about maybe the best wide receiver in college football that left your team. Because if you're breaking in a new quarterback, you love to do it with a tight end and an offensive line completely healthy here. Duzzi's still a pretty good head coach, but you would have factored on and said, boy, I got a quarterback, got a dominant wide receiver and an offensive line. I'll be fine. 8 to 9 wins should be easy this year. But I did sort of get that, wait a second. They're ranked in the top 20. I look at the schedule. I look at this team. I'm not so sure about that. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and again, the difference maker, while the Clemson part of it all is Miami hosts Pitt, that final game of the ACC regular season. Miami's going to be a legitimate favorite in that football game there. So if you're willing to ride it out, plus 125 on Miami to win the Coastal, they are the most talented team in this division. To set that up for you, by the way, the Coastal odds, the U is plus 125, Pitt is 3-1, Virginia plus 550, UNC 6-1, Va-Tech 8-1, and then you've got these, jump-off prices here on Georgia Tech at 30-1, and then 200-1 on Duke. In the Atlantic, it's Clemson at minus 230, NC State plus 450, and then again, it's a big-time bit of separation. We're going to give you our favorite win totals. I'll just mention this quickly. If not for the Sam Hartman injury, you and I are making sure that we talk Wake Forest in this at all. Any thought to throw a dart on Wake? Hartman, 30-1, comes back sooner than anticipated there to win an ACC, something along the line?
I'm telling you, because if Clemson falters with DJU at quarterback and a lot of things are left up in the air, if Hartman comes back in Game 5, and quite frankly, they don't have a very hard schedule to begin the year for Wake Forest. If they can stem the tide there, you're right. Those are the type of shots that you look forward to because we don't know. He could come back, Kevin, week 2 or week 10, but it might be worth a little bit of salt there.
How about it? Listen, I think, it's going to depend when he comes back because without him, it's going to likely be a nightmare. Now, we've done these enough to know that Donnie has an ability to run the clock out, and that's not happening because I'm excited about my favorite win total, so I'm going first, but I'll try and move quickly to give you all the time that you need. Favorite win total in the ACC is an under 3.5 for Georgia Tech. There is one of the magazines I think is very good. I'll tell you right now, is the Athlon magazine. Donnie put me onto this. There's a quote in here from an opposing coach that I just thought was absolutely perfect, all right? He goes, they have a conference schedule that's tough on its own and a non-conference slate that looks like it was designed to get this guy fired. If that does not tell you what this team is walking into, I don't know what does. Jeff Collins, who's the coach of this football team, has yet to win 4 games in his first 3 seasons. That does not change this year. There is a lot of talent that has been lost for a team that is not talented. Jahmyr Gibbs was on this football team. He might start at running back for Alabama. They lost 8 of their top 11 tacklers, and this team last year was 121st in defensive efficiency out of 131 schools, and they somehow kept their defensive coordinator. And again, this schedule, forget road games. They're not winning on the road. All right, you got a basically neutral that slides your way against Clemson. Stop. Western Carolina, okay, fine. Ole Miss, yeah, right. Duke, good for you. UVA, doubt it. Miami, not a chance in the world. They're going to be favored in 3 games at the most, probably lose one of them. Donnie, it's an under on Georgia Tech at 3.5.
Yeah, it seems like they need to go back to the wishbone at this point here because obviously the pro set style is not working for them. If I'm going to take a look at an ACC team, I think that can surprise. It is Virginia over 7.5. And how about that price? A plus 135 here. Let me just go over this. They don't have a lot coming back on the offensive line. There's not a lot to love, but the quarterback last year returning back over 30 touchdown passes. His top 3 wide receivers, Kevin, which are Thompson, Kemp, and Wicks. How about this? 990, 725, and 1203. We're all coming back to the fort now also. Check this out. Look at this schedule to open the season. Richmond, at Illinois, Old Dominion, at Syracuse, Duke, Louisville, at Georgia Tech. You might have 5 wins easy right there off the bat. Play with me, Virginia. You kids are smart out here. You got a quarterback and 3 wideouts. Dominate for me.
How about it? Listen up. We'll close it out.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid. Fantasy Sports Today.
Take a look at those numbers. Do you think that he's being drafted about where he should, which is not being drafted at all?
I don't think he's your quarterback of the future. I think you are going to have to upgrade eventually. I understand the problem that Detroit's in. If you don't have a top 3, top 4 pick, it's hard to get that quarterback unless you're willing to give up all those picks. Do I think he's average? I think that's what you're shooting for. And I think he can be average, which might be good enough for this team for the the immediate future here.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
The St. Louis Cardinals and then the Milwaukee Brewers moving in opposite directions.
We're just looking for lineup prowess here, 1 through 9. By far, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. My thought process isn't going to change, even if the 2 schedules, flip back and forth, and we might be looking at a dead heat once we're around September 15th. I still trust the Cardinals more than I do the Brewers, because if I need base hits, I can get them with the Cardinals.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
Pickett was the only quarterback selected in the first round for a reason. Super accurate, good athlete, playing that same stadium in Pittsburgh. This is a good situation for him. I like the way Mike Tomlin is handling this. He's not naming anybody starting quarterback. Does Trubisky have the upper hand? Yes, that's a fact. But he's going to let Pickett get more reps here. Your guy Pickett, with your team, the Steelers, this is their future quarterback.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
Alrighty, last Saturday for Monday, right here for the early line, Sirius XM Channel 159 radio on the Sports Grid Network. Donnie Rightside, Kevin Walsh going through 7 to 9 a.m. before we hand it over to Ben Stevens and the morning after for the rest of your Sports Grid programming throughout the day. But I got to tell you get that tingle in the air, right? It's still hot outside. We're still sitting in the month of August. There's still Major League Baseball on your TV. But boy, does it feel like football season. Listen up. It is time for football. We all know that, right? Have you ever played football in your life, whether it be the Pee-wees all the way up through middle school, high school, maybe some college, or even some of you pros watching out here? It's game week. It's game week in college football. Now, granted, everybody in the NCAA is not playing this weekend, but football is still there. There are, what do we have, 6, 7 games that are going to kick it off this Saturday. And I can't wait for it here. Not because I'm excited about the games, because quite frankly, I'm really not. Not because I handicapped out a 5-star lock special this Saturday that you want to get down on, because I don't have that. But just seeing competitive football on the TV and getting ready for the regular season, because the big games are going to come right behind that in waves. And even though we're just talking college football, which we did this morning right here on the early line, had a lot of fun talking about the ACC, just whetting your appetite, getting ready for these teams to perform, because unlike the National Football League, where we see training camps and a million beat reporters and quarterbacks in front of the podium, along with head coaches, coordinators, telling you exactly what's going on, we know those teams, and we know them well from the previous seasons. But college football is always so much fun because you see new players literally every single year, and the anticipation is stupendous once it gets underway. And we're really close to that. A 12:30 game overseas this weekend between Northwestern and Nebraska. And yeah, you're going to settle into Connecticut playing Utah State with a 27.5-point line. But after that, the SEC, the SEC, the ACC, everybody gets on the way. Big Ten, Pac-12. We cannot wait for this because it's finally football season. And pretty soon, we're going to be in the month of September. We're going to get NFL football on a Thursday night between the Bills and the Rams. And off we go all the way through the fall, winter, up until the championship games. I can't wait. It's football season right here on the Grid.